I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Jesus. Stayed on Jesus. Oh, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on the Lord. Stayed on the Lord. Well, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Jesus. Stayed on Jesus. Hallelujah. 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 Well, I'm singing and praying with my mind. Stay on Jesus. Well, I'm singing and praying with my mind. With my mind. Stay on the Lord. You know I'm singing and praying with my mind. Stayed on Jesus.
How is it that you deal with a child that has been sexually abused? Meaning, where do you start? How do you help them cope with what they are dealing with when they are retaliating, when they are acting out? What is it that you do, or how is it?
What age is the child?
13.
13. And do you know who the perpetrator was?
Yes, it has been dealt with.
Okay. I think one of the first things as a parent is to let them know that they're safe with you, whether that is pursuing that perpetrator or whether it's just supporting them in their now choice to not pursue that person. We can't, once somebody is violated against, you can't put that on them. You have to go with where they are. I think the other thing when we're talking about 13 years old is, again, that safety within the home first. After there's safety within the home, then we can start looking outside of the home. Psychotherapy is helpful. Group therapy is helpful. Sometimes, too, at age 13, you're going to see some symptoms like acting out, not sleeping well, not eating, isolation, those types of things. You might even see regressive type behaviors, such as urinating when they've been trained all this time to not pee in the bed. They might start doing that. Sucking their thumbs, staying up under you, not wanting to leave. Those are all things that not only can we deal with in psychotherapy, but sometimes pharmacological interventions are necessary. So I think making sure that they get a good evaluation, that you're talking about it in the home, that we're not just all very quiet about it and hush-hush, but that we're giving them the permission to talk about it. Because also in the Black community, we don't talk about mental health issues. We keep that silent. So giving them the language to even talk about what's happening to them emotionally is an important piece of dealing with the sexual assault that's occurred to them.
Yeah. And one of the ways that theology becomes problematic is we develop this theology of forgiveness, which we push right at the point of the perpetration, which suggests that you're not going to get any justice, therefore forgive. And forgiveness is a part of the process, but it's down the line. But we push it up to the initial response so that the person doesn't get a chance to to claim that they were hurt. So when you get, Jesus saying, my God, why, if you forsake me, and then, God, forgive them. Jesus didn't say, I forgive y'all.
And also, you can feel free, if you look at my website, you can always email me questions on that. And if in this area or even in trying to find services for you, I'm totally willing to do that. This is part of my passion. And I think that as clinicians also, we need to make sure that if we're not the ones that can help you, we can help find somebody that can.
Okay, here.
I have a question. I am one of the sons of New Birth Bishop. And Pastor touched on it. When I have never had any evidence over my 15 years of relationship with him, my decision tends to lean more towards him. And what I'm finding out is I'm having a division in my own personal life. One is to the loyalty of my pastor, and I have friends who are affected by the situation. From a psychological standpoint, what can I do? Because I'm very damaged being in the middle.
I think that that's a very powerful question, and I'm sorry to hear that you're in the middle, but you're not in the middle by yourself. And I think that one of the things to remember psychologically is that there is power in numbers when we start to speak up. So whether it's speaking up to your friends who have gone through this and being able to have a conversation back and forth, whether it's speaking up to your own defense of the pastor, because that is your experience of him. Regardless of what he has or has not done or allegedly has or has not done, you should not have to make a judgment against anyone else, but make a decision for yourself. And so that means communicating back and forth with those people in your life that mean something. And if it really puts turmoil within you, there's professionals that you can go to talk to. And the one glorious thing about us is we can't say anything outside of our office. So it's completely safe. And anything that you say will not be judged against you, because at the same day, we have to walk outside those doors, and every good therapist should have one too. So remember that idea of confidentiality and the safety to speak your mind, if that turmoil is that deep inside of you that you need to speak about it.
I'd like to ask, why aren't more women brought to the light as well? There's a lot of perpetrators that are in the women gender. I'm wondering, I never hear anything about that, but I know it takes place.
I think that's a really good sociology question and question with our community, but I do want to say that the psychology of it is that, unfortunately, with trauma and sexual trauma, there's very little research, actually, that is about women perpetrators. There's a lot of research about, when we talk about PTSD and trauma, we're often talking about combat vets and female incest survivors, oftentimes looking at male perpetrators. So I think in the psychology literature, that is changing, and you'll see in more research from the 90s and the late 90s to 2000s that there's more research about that, but it's also still not being talked about because it's just something that's coming out more.
But also when you look at these cases of women teachers who have been brought up on charges of sexualizing having sexual relations with students, the view is, what's the problem? See, the societal view is, he should have been glad. And it is the way in which we socialize men not to see themselves as being the victims. One preacher told me that, he said, this is a theologian, he said, I got to church late, so I didn't sit on the pulpit. I looked up at the choir, and I had sex with every one of those women up there. And I said, it didn't occur to you that you were being passed around? And he said, evidently you're good, and the word got around that we're passing you around. But there's something in male psychology that when we're abused, we don't see it as abuse. We see it as a favor.
They say that 1 in every 3 women is sexually assaulted at some point in her life. Interestingly enough, our numbers on men are not actually out, and they're not accurate. And I think that's because we are not encouraging the same type of language for sexual assault against women and perpetrators that are women that we do encourage amongst the opposite sex. And I do think that that's a big problem in the sexual assault information that's out there.
Can you speak about how the perpetrator uses things to entice their victims? Because I keep hearing people say, well, those 4 young men got houses and cars and trips and stuff, so what's the problem? It's okay. Both sides got what they wanted.
It's a grooming. You have to think about it as a perpetrator when you think, and not necessarily speaking to Bishop Long's alleged abuse of the boys, but just in general, it's a perpetrator. And how they're going to get in, they're not just going to come at you head on and hit you in the face. They're going to come around the corner. They're going to groom you. They're going to make sure that power differential is in place. The perpetrator is using his power to control. So be that in gifts, be that in money, be that in the power of the pulpit, you have to look at, well, why am I even getting this? Why am I so special? If your son comes home or your daughter comes home with something that you go, that's a little much. That's a little over the top. then you have to really ask, why is this happening? Not to say that it automatically means that somebody is abusing the other person, but again, it's a setup.
Okay, our 10 minutes up. Once again, we want to thank Dr. Bailey, Dr. Fennell, and Dr. Can for being with us today.